The Seattle Seahawks linebackers are forcing opposing quarterbacks to make inefficient throws for their defense. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Thursday. Thursday, you guys know, means we do the weekly post-game slash preview show with the Hawks Nest. So look for that stream to go live in about 3 hours from the upload of this video. We go live around noon. So be there. And if you can't be there, you can check out the VOD later. But me and him are going to talk a little bit about this Cardinals win, and then we're going to talk about this upcoming Packers game. So it's a big moment for these Seahawks. So definitely tune in. Gonna have a lot to say. Like I said, noon. Noon Pacific. So before we get there, we should talk a little bit about the coverage. We should talk a little bit about how the Seahawks held up in pass coverage against the Cardinals. Cardinals did put together a decent number of yards through the passing game, not terribly efficiently. There was one big play, and other than that, it was all right. It wasn't shut down the way it was the first time we played Arizona, where we just forced them into inefficient throw after inefficient throw, but it was good. And this is another week where Pro Football Reference and Pro Football Focus come at this from different angles. There's definitely a difference in the way Pro Football Reference has done things compared to Focus. I use Reference in these charts for whatever that's worth, so we'll see. I went over the PFF data earlier this week, by the way, in my Monday videos, so check those out if you want to. But we're going to do Pro Football Reference here. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's up. And we're going to start with the linebackers here. And there's a reason why I shouted these guys out in the intro, because however you want to slice it, these two starting linebackers for the Seahawks are doing a phenomenal job at forcing opposing quarterbacks to be inefficient. They're not completely shutting down opposing quarterbacks, and they get targeted a lot, right? Like Ernest Jones in this game got targeted 6 times, and PFF had him get targeted like 8 times. And 5 of those passes got completed on Ernest Jones. The only one that didn't was the interception. So it's not like he's not giving stuff up. He gave up about 70 yards, or 60 yards in coverage according to PFR. But the thing is, that's really something I'm willing to live with, especially if he throws an interception in there. But the big picture, 84.3 QB rating. And remember, a lot of the stuff Ernest Jones gave up in this game was in basically garbage time. So, yeah, Ernest Jones, he's getting passed on some. He's not a great cover player. He never will be. So, I don't think that I don't think that he's some hyper elite cover linebacker the way Bobby Wagner in his prime was, or a guy like Luke Kuechly. But you can see that teams are not really satisfied with the results when they throw in Ernest Jones's direction right now. Remember, a lot of his bad numbers were from his first game here when we played the Bills. So you take that game out, his first game, it was like, 3 days after he got traded to Seattle? And you're left with a guy who you're not attacking all that efficiently. And that goes for Tyrese Knight even more so, maybe. He got targeted a lot in this game. According to PFR, it was 11 targets, but only 6 completions for a grand total of not even, 42 yards. Now, that's PFR. PFF had different numbers, but the general gist is the same. The gist is the same. You're not efficiently moving the ball when you target our linebackers right now. You're just not. 85.3 QB rating against on Knight. They're averaging like what per target? You're talking about what, less than 6 yards per target? That's phenomenal for a rookie. That shouldn't be happening for most rookies. Most rookies get beat up in coverage. This guy, no. And I mean, the main difference you can see is that Ernest Jones gives up about an equal number of air yards and yak. Tyrese Knight, it's almost all yak, but fundamentally, it's the same idea, right? You pass on our linebackers, you're not getting big gains. You're not getting, over the course of a game, a profitable set of plays. And that's a big improvement, because in previous years we have seen that That's not necessarily the case. There have been years where it's been really bad, but this is as good as I've seen it recently. So we're cooking in this area, man. All right. I believe the only edge rusher to get targeted this week was Mafe. He gave up a completion for was like yeah, 6 yards. It was a screen pass. Went for a little bit of yards after the catch. That's really all there is to say here. I don't think that any of our edge rushers have a big enough weakness in coverage to where there's a problem, right? Like, I don't think that 51 yards allowed in, I think Mafe's played, like, what? He's missed a couple games, so what, 11, 12 games? I think you're talking about 11 games. Right, like, I'm not worried about 51 receiving yards in 11 games. So I don't think we have any kind of a problem here. Nobody's giving up too much. The only play where things really got bad was the Travis Gibson touchdown. And that's one play, and Gibson doesn't even play anymore, so whatever. All right, so cornerbacks. This is always kind of interesting, right? Now, according to PFR, Witherspoon only got targeted twice, so they did not think that he got targeted as much as PFF did. 2 completions, but we're talking about a grand total of 8 yards. And if that's true, and by the way, it was negative air yards, so we're talking about stuff behind the line of scrimmage almost exclusively. I mean, that's really, really special. That's really good. That's the kind of stuff you like to see. So, 2 targets, 8 yards, 2 completions, pretty shut down. 96.4 QB rating against now. I mean, it's not where we want to be, but that's where we are, and it's not a bad place to be. It really isn't. The one guy who kind of got lit up in this game, according to PFR, would be Woolen. And it wasn't terrible. It was 8 targets for 6 completions and 61 yards. I mean, I don't like it. It needs to be better coming from somebody like Woolen, where this is his calling card. Although at the same time, it's worth noting that in this game, he probably played the run and tackled better than he usually does. But, yeah, we're gonna... I don't know. This almost seems like a decision. Like, the Woolen decision might have to be kicked over to 2025. I don't know. There's been some stuff that's been phenomenal this year, but then you have the Bills and Rams game, and then you have some of the tackling stuff and the unsupport stuff, and it's just confusing. It's just really confusing. It's still not bad. Like, don't get me wrong, what he did in this game is okay, but he clearly stands out as the one guy that, honestly, Kyler kind of felt like he could almost pick on. Like, this wasn't one big play that was a fluke. Like, that first Arizona game, you could kind of point to and say, hey, that was one big play he gave up on a play that was almost impossible to defend. That's not the case with this one. This one was like death by 1,000 cuts. Still an 85.5 QB rating against. I'm not too down on that, but we were all hoping for a little bit better. I'll put it to you that way. Josh Joby. I think he got targeted twice. I think it was 1 completion for all of 13 yards. Wow. He keeps doing it, man. I don't know how. I don't know how he's pulling it off. The dude came out of nowhere, and he's become a... I think we could call him like a well above average corner. Remember, it's not like he's not getting targeted because everyone else is getting destroyed. Other players are holding up too. You would think other teams would be picking on Joby. They're really not. So, continues to churn along here. 71.5 QB rating against. Really good. Julian Love had a great game in coverage this week. He got targeted 4 times. I think it was, 1 completion. And it went for 15 yards. Like, 4 targets, 15 yards for a safety. I'm happy with that. And he's gotten his QB rating all the way down to 96, which is impressive because of all the touchdowns he gives up earlier in the season. And by the way, some of you may have noticed that only 1 touchdown was accounted for here, and we gave up 2. The other touchdown they gave to a defensive lineman. I don't even know who it is because I didn't look, but they didn't give it to any of the linebackers or corners or safeties or anything like that. They gave it to a defensive lineman, and I don't really care to talk about how good a defensive lineman does in coverage most of the time because you're not learning a lot from that. generally speaking, when a defensive lineman drops into coverage, he's just trying to trick the quarterback. It's not like the defensive lineman has great cover skills, right? Like Leonard Williams is not chasing Tyreek Hill 40 yards down the field covering him. It's just a thing where you're trying to trick the quarterback. And as for the touchdown we gave up on the shovel pass against the Cardinals, the Kyler underhanded pass, I don't think anybody did anything wrong in coverage. So I think nobody getting blamed for that is probably correct, right? So I'm not going to talk about that like Pro Football Reference missed it. I don't think they missed it. I think they're kind of right to just say, hey, we're not going to put it on any of the cover players. We're just going to give it to a random defensive lineman and move on with our day. Rayshawn didn't get targeted. Kobe did, and obviously it was a mixed bag. We're talking about 4 targets, 3 completions, and it was big yardage. It was over 50 yards, 55 yards, significant, including the long touchdown. But again, most of that was one big play. Other than that, he was fine. And then he had another interception. So his numbers technically get a little bit worse. He's up to about a 71 QB rating against, but can't be too upset about that. I mean, he did get beat. As McDonald said, it wasn't all on him, though. There was a little more going on that play than just Kobe Bryant getting beat. And I would think it's fair to say he made up for it with the way he played the rest of that game. The interception and not giving up very much the rest of the game seems fine to me. So, pretty encouraged. And that's it. That's everything. So, who are we really mad at, right? A little bit Woolen, I guess. Woolen felt like he got picked on a bit. They tried to pick on the linebackers, but overall, you can't say they had success. So, I call that a good day at the office. All right. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming soon. Stream later. Be there.